Hello students, welcome to Educate. Today we'll be moving on with the chapter which was the fourth chapter of your class 12th NCERT history. And जो ये हमारा चैप्टर था, ये जो हमारी फर्स्ट बुक है हिस्ट्री की, उसका लास्ट चैप्टर है, फोर्थ चैप्टर है, जिसका नाम था थिंकर्स, बिलीव्स एंड बिल्डिंग्स. अप अंटिल द फर्स्ट पार्ट हमने इस वीडियो में समझा था कि कैसे जो नई फिलोसफीज आई थी, बुद्धिज्म, गौतम बुद्धा और सिद्धार्था as he was known during his time of birth, new philosophies, new teachings, which were somewhere we can say different to the basic Vedic philosophies. Also, we had studied about कि कैसे गौतम बुद्ध की जो teachings थी. Later on, we also touched upon the teachings of Mahavir, the founder of Jainism, एंड क्या उनकी टीचिंग्स हमें बताती हैं और क्या अलग अलग स्क्रिप्चर्स थे उनके, हमने ये फर्स्ट पार्ट में डिस्कस किया था. त्रिपिताकास एंड ऑल डिफरेंट सॉर्ट्स इन ऑफ वे इन विच बेसिकली दीज टू न्यू फिलोसफीज हैड कम टू टीच द वर्ल्ड न्यू थिंग्स, ऑल राइट, डिफरेंट फ्रॉम व्हाट वाज देयर इन द वेदास. ऑल्सो एट द सेम टाइम जो त्रिपिताका थे, सुत पिताका, विधम पिताका, जितने भी पिताका थे, इनके बारे में हमने पढ़ा. नाउ विल बी मूविंग ऑन टू द फॉलोअर्स ऑफ बुद्धा. इसमें हम जानेंगे कि कैसे बुद्धिज्म अलग अलग सेक्ट्स में डिवाइड हुआ था. डिफरेंट फॉर्म्स ऑफ बुद्धिज्म, नॉट टेक्निकली डिवाइड हुआ था, बट उनके अपनी फिलोसफीज तो कोर प्रिंसिपल सेम थे, बट द वे इन विच दे अटेन्ड एनलाइटनमेंट, each of them were different from another. Okay, so soon there grew a body of disciples of the Buddha and he founded a Sangha. All right, these terminologies are important. Sangha, an organization of monks who too became teachers of Dhamma or Dharma, all right, which is basically righteousness. These monks lived simply, possessing only the essential requisites for survival, क्योंकि बुद्धिज्म की कोर प्रिंसिपल और फिलोसफी थी about oneness with the universe, unity with the universe in a sense, and उतना ही इंसानों को अपने ज़रूरत के हिसाब से लेना चाहिए जो सर्वाइवल के लिए बेयर मिनिमम या नेसेसरी हो. And exploitation of resources was seen as the play of Maya. And this entire cycle of rebirths and also nirvana, all these things, ये सारी core philosophies भी हमने समझी थी. उसमें problem आती है according to the philosophy of Buddhism. All right, these monks lived simply, possessing only the essential requisites for survival, such as a bowl to receive food once a day from the laity. All right, कोई भी अगर भीख दे तो भीख लेनी है, भिक्षा लेनी है. As they lived on alms, they were known as bhikkhus. Bhikkhu from the word bhikhari. All right. Initially, only men only allowed into the sangha, but later women also came to be admitted. According to the Buddhist texts, this was made possible through the mediation of Ananda. Important, इसके ऊपर क्वेश्चन जरूर आता है. One of the Buddha's dearest disciples who persuaded him to allow women into the Sangha. इन्होंने, आनंदा ने बुद्धा को कन्विंस किया था कि women should also be allowed in the Sangha. All right. Excuse me. The Buddha's foster mother, Mahapajapatigami Gautami. Foster mother is basically पुराने ज़माने में जो राजा महाराजा होते थे, जो महारानियाँ होती थी, अपने साथ एक बाई रखती थी, एक काइंड ऑफ लाइक अ सर्वेंट, जो उनके लिए उनका काम करती थी. समटाइम्स उनके बच्चे भी महारानियों के लिए पालती थी. राजकुमार को पालने वाली वो सर्वेंट ही होती थी अधिकतर. सो दैट्स वाई फॉस्टर मदर महाप्रजापति गौतमी वॉज द फर्स्ट वुमन टू बी obtained एज अ भिकुनी. ऑल राइट, ordained एज अ भिकुनी, मतलब उनको जो भिकुनी का दर्जा सबसे पहले दिया था, वो सबसे पहले महाप्रजापति गौतमी को दिया था, who was the foster mother of Gautam Buddha. All right. Many women who entered the Sangh became teachers of Dhamma, धर्मा जैसे बोलते हैं, and went on to become theories or respected women who had attained liberation. The Buddha's followers came from many social groups. They included kings, wealthy men, and Gahapatis, and also humbler folk, workers, slaves, and craftspeople. सबको साथ में इंक्लूड करके एक संघ बनाया जाता था, राइट? गाहपति यानी कि बहुत वेल्दी, कोई अगर पोजीशन वाला व्यक्ति होता था उसको भी इसमें इंक्लूड किया जाता था. Alright, once within the Sangh, all were regarded as equal, having shed their earlier social identities on becoming भिक्खूज एंड भिक्खुनीज. अब उन्होंने अपनी पुरानी जो आइडेंटिटी थी उसको बिल्कुल ही रिमूव कर दिया था, चाहे वो उनका क्लैन का नेम हो, चाहे वो सर नेम हो, उनकी कास्ट हो, क्लास हो, किसी भी चीज से डिनोट होती हो, उसको वो छोड़ चुके थे और अब उनकी नई आइडेंटिटी थी एक भिक्खुनी या फिर भिक्खू की. All right. The internal functioning of the Sangh was based on traditions of Ganas and Sanghas, where consensus was arrived at through discussions. And if that failed, decisions were taken by a vote on the subject. So जो इस संघ का कॉन्सेप्ट था ये पहले से बोरो किया हुआ था by गौतम बुद्धा and his followers, ताकि एक कॉमन कंसेंसस पे वो पहुंच पाए जब भी कोई ऐसी कोई सिचुएशन अराइज हो जहां पे उन्हें कोई इंपॉर्टेंट डिसीजन लेना और सबकी सहमति चाहिए हो. दैट वाज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट, अ कोर प्रिंसिपल ऑफ बुद्धिज्म, द संघ. ऑलराइट. द यूनिक बुद्धिस्ट टेक्स्ट पार्ट ऑफ द सूत पिताका इज कलेक्शन ऑफ वर्सेस कंपोज्ड बाय भिक्खुनीज. इसमें क्या था सूत पिताका में? द टीचिंग्स ऑफ बुद्धा, कि बुद्धा किस बारे में बात करते हैं, क्या सिखाते हैं. इट प्रोवाइड्स एन इंसाइट इनटू वुमेन्स सोशल एंड स्पिरिचुअल एक्सपीरियंसेस. पुन्ना, a dasi or slave woman went to the river each morning to fetch water for her master's household. अपने मालिक के लिए एक कहानी है एक लेडी के बारे में, एक दासी जो अपने मालिक के लिए पानी लेके जाती थी नदी से. ऑलराइट. There she would daily see a Brahman performing bathing rituals. One morning she spoke to him. The following are verses composed by Punna recording her conversation with the Brahman. तो ये एक टीचिंग है जो बुद्धा देना चाह रहे हैं थ्रू दिस स्टोरी, जिसमें कि एक दासी जो कि अपने मालिक के लिए पानी लेने जाती थी, वो हमेशा एक ब्राह्मण को वहां स्नान करते देखती थी, नहाते हुए देखती थी. वो देखती थी कि एक ब्राह्मण वहां पूजा करने से पहले नहा रहा है, अपने रिचुअल्स करने वाला है, एटसेट्रा. सो आई एम अ वाटर कैरियर इवन इन द कोल्ड. वो जो दासी है ब्राह्मण से बोलती है, आई हैव ऑलवेज गॉन डाउन टू द वाटर फ्राइटेंड ऑफ पनिशमेंट और द एंग्री वर्ड्स ऑफ हाई क्लास वुमेन. सो व्हाट आर यू अफ्रेड ऑफ ब्राह्मण दैट मेक्स यू गो डाउन द वाटर though your limbs shake with the bitter cold. ब्राह्मण से बोलती है कि मैं तो यहाँ मजबूरी में आती हूँ अपने मालिक के लिए पानी लेने के लिए, क्योंकि पानी इतना ठंडा है, फिर भी जैसे तैसे ले जाती हूँ ताकि अपर क्लास वुमेन उसको कुछ बोले ना. एंड एट द सेम टाइम वो ब्राह्मण से कहती है कि आप यहाँ पर आ रहे हो, डेली नहा रहे हो और इतने ठंडे पानी में भी कैसे मैनेज कर रहे हो. बिकॉज द ब्राह्मण shivers in cold. So she asks him, why is it so? The Brahman replied, I am doing good to prevent evil. Anyone, young or old, who has done something bad is freed by washing in the water. ब्राह्मण कहता है कि इससे, इस बेदिंग रिचुअल से पापों से छुटकारा मिलता है. Any sins that he has committed, evil को ward off करने के लिए, to establish good, that is why he takes the bath. पुनः जो दासी है वो कहती है, whoever told you you are freed from evil by washing in the water? In that case, all the frogs and turtles would go to heaven, and so would the water snakes and crocodiles. Instead, don't do that thing, the fear of which leads you to the water. Stop now, Brahman. Save your skin from the cold. तो वो सीधा कहती है कि अगर नहाने से मुक्ति मिल जाती तो जो पानी में जानवर हैं, वाटर एनिमल्स हैं, उन्हें मुक्ति मिल जाए और वो सीधा हेवन पे जाएं. ऑलराइट, दैट वाज वन ऑफ द स्टोरीज, ताकि आपको समझ में आए कि बुद्धिस्ट फिलॉसफी कैसे काम करती है, हाउ वाज इट डिफरेंट फ्रॉम द वेदास, Vedic rituals and practices, as explained it to you in the previous part of the same chapter as well. Also, rules for monks and nuns. जो भिक्खुनी होते थे, जो रिलीजन के बारे में, बुद्धिज्म की कोर फिलोसफीज के बारे में लोगों को बताते थे, उसका प्रचार करते थे, लोगों तक पहुंचाते थे, उस मैसेज को स्प्रेड कर रहे थे. So there were certain rules for them as well. All right. These are some of the rules laid down in the Vinaya Pitaka. When a new felt blanket or a rug has been made by a bhikkhu, it is to be kept for at least 6 years. After 6 years, if after less than 6 years, he should have another new felt blanket or a rug made, regardless of whether or not he has disposed of the first. Then, unless he has been authorized by the bhikkhus, it is to be forfeited and confessed. Excuse me. So, यहाँ पे बात होती है कि अगर कोई जो भिक्खु है या फिर कोई सन्यासी है जो बुद्धिज्म के फोल्ड में आए, लाइक अ मंक, सो अगर वो ज्वाइन करता है तो उसको जो कंबल और रजाई दी जाएगी, द ब्लैंकेट और द रग, वो उसे 6 महीने से पहले चेंज नहीं करना. उसे 6 महीने तक उसका ध्यान रखना है, चाहे वो फट जाए, इवन इफ इट्स टॉर्न, इवन इफ इट्स वॉर्न आउट, इवन इफ इट्स लॉस्ट, तब भी 6 महीने से पहले उसे नहीं लेना चाहिए. आफ्टर 6 months उसे लेना चाहिए. और अगर वो किसी रीजन से पहले ले लेता है, इवन लाइक whether the old one has been lost or disposed of or is not considerable to be used again, then even then if he purchases or basically gets a new rug or a blanket, उसको या तो forfeit कर दिया जाएगा, या तो बुद्धिज्म के फोल्ड से निकाल दिया जाएगा, या फिर बाकी भिक्खुस और भिक्खुनीज जो भी उसको आदेश देंगे, whatever order they have for them, वो उन्हें पूरा करना पड़ेगा, like penance or forgiveness. All right. In case a bhikkhu arriving at a family residence is presented with cakes or cooked grain meal, he may accept 2 or 3 bowlfuls if he desires. If he should accept more than that, it is to be confessed. Having accepted the 2 or 3 bowlfuls and having taken it from there, he is to share them among the bhikkhus. This is the proper course here. All right. मतलब कि अगर वो एक तरीके से 2 या 3 कटोरी कुक्ड खाना, जो कि कुक्ड फूड हो, उसे लेता है, पका हुआ खाना, अनाज, सब्जियां, वेजिटेबल्स, डेलिकेसीज, सो ऑन एंड सो फोर्थ, तो उसको हमेशा ये कन्फेस करना चाहिए, आकर के माफी मांगनी चाहिए बाकी भिक्खुस और भिक्खुनीस से, और अपने सिन को एडमिट करना चाहिए. ऑल राइट. Third, should any bhikkhu, having set out bedding in a lodging belonging to the sangha, or having it set out and then on departing neither put it away or have it put away, or should he go without taking leave, it is to be confessed. All right. अगर कोई भिक्खु बेसिकली रात को कहीं रुकने जा रहा है एंड उस जगह पे जहाँ पे संघ रहता है, उसका सबके साथ चल रहा है, जहाँ पे उसका सारा संघ रुका और वहां पे भी वो खुद रुका हुआ है, तो हैविंग सेट आउट ऑन डिपार्टिंग पुट इट अवे और हैव इट पुट अवे शुड गो विदाउट टेकिंग लीव. मतलब कि अगर वो उसका जो सामान है, उसके जो बेड है, उसको अगर वो रख करके नहीं जाता, बिना रखे चला जाता है या फिर बिना बताए चला जाता है, तो उसे भी माफी मांगनी चाहिए. These were the rules laid down by Buddhism for the monks according to the Sutta Pitaka. Buddhism grew rapidly both during the lifetime of the Buddha and after his death as well. as it appealed to many people dissatisfied with existing religious practices and confused by the rapid social changes taking place around them, the importance attached to conduct and values rather than claims of superiority based on birth, the emphasis placed on karma or metta, fellow feeling. Karma, that is our compassion and karuna, especially for those who were younger and weaker than oneself, were ideas that drew men and women to Buddhist teaching. So basically, ये जो by birth superiority थी, which was established even during the Vedic period और जो बाद में मनुस्मृति and different शास्त्र आए थे, उसमें इसको बहुत ज़्यादा emphasis दिया गया था. Another thing to be noted is that emphasis was now, according to Buddhism, placed on metta, which is fellow feeling, and karuna, that is compassion, along with dhamma and karma. All right, righteous duty, righteousness, compassion, and fellow feeling. So here is the map of the Indian subcontinent, and near all the rivers you can also see major Buddhist sites. अभी तक हमने पढ़ा था सांची स्तूपा के बारे में. Jahan Begum of Bhopal had basically looked after it a lot, and at the same time it was fortunately that the French and the Englishmen were not interested enough into taking the eastern gateway of the same stupa. Instead, उसका एक plastered copy museums में रखी है, and the original one remains in Madhya Pradesh itself. So here is the Narmada River, Sanchi, very important. Bodh Gaya, Sarnath, Lumbini is the birthplace of Buddha, Kushinagar, and all the other places, Amravati, major Buddhist sites. All right, stupas. जिन लोगों को नहीं पता, stupas जो होते थे, जो बुद्धिस्ट प्लेस ऑफ वर्शिप है, फॉर एग्जाम्पल एक मॉस्क जब बनना होता है, जब कोई मस्जिद बनता है, तो द लैंड शुड बी प्योर, शुड नॉट बी अ ग्रेवयार्ड और वट एवर, कब्रिस्तान नहीं होना चाहिए, कुछ ऐसा नहीं, साफ सुथरी जगह हो तो मॉस्क बना देते हैं. सेम गोज फॉर अ टेम्पल अकॉर्डिंग टू डिफरेंट शास्त्रास, आगम शास्त्र, अलंकार शास्त्र, देन यू हैव द अथर्ववेद, ऋग्वेद, एंड ये सारे इनके साथ जितने भी इनके ब्राह्मण हैं, चाहे वो कौशिकी हो, गोपत और जैमिनी एज वेल, अलॉन्ग विद तैतरीय ब्राह्मण, अपने अपने उपवेद के साथ, चाहे वो शिल्प वेद हो या फिर एक तरीके से हम कह सकते हैं आयुर्वेद, ऋग्वेद, और ये जो अपने अपने उपवेद हैं, इन सबको कंसिडर करने के बाद, जगह की पवित्रता मापने के बाद, अलग अलग शास्त्र और पौराणिक विधि के बाद जाकर के मंदिर बनाया जाता है, वास्तु देख करके, ग्रह नक्षत्र इत्यादि देख करके. सो बेसिकली दैट्स हाउ इट वर्क्स. हाउएवर, अगर आपको एक बुद्धिस्ट प्लेस ऑफ वर्शिप बनाना है तो उसके लिए बुद्धा का, लाइक गौतम बुद्धा हिमसेल्फ, उसका कोई रेलिक जरूरी है. दैट इंक्लूड्स ईदर हिज हेयर, हिज नेल्स, सम पार्ट ऑफ हिज बॉडी. उसके बिना स्तूपा नहीं बन सकता. All right, we have seen that Buddhist ideas and practices emerged out of a process of dialogue with other traditions, including those of the Brahmins, Jains, and several others, not all of whose ideas and practices were preserved in texts. We also read about Chandogya Upanishad, and Upanishad के काफी सारे जो टीचिंग्स हैं, फिलोसफीज हैं, उससे बुद्धिज्म ने काफी ज्यादा इंस्पिरेशन ली है एक तरीके से, बिकॉज द ऑर्थोडॉक्स वे इन विच द वेदास वर एक्सप्लेन्ड, फॉर एग्जाम्पल इन द ब्राह्मण्स और इवन इन देयर रिस्पेक्टिव वेदास, जो 6 अंग हैं, वेदांग हैं, विच इज शिक्षा, कल्प, निरुक्त, छंद, व्याकरण एंड ज्योतिष. सो उन सब के अलावा जो वेदांत हैं, विच इज द उपनिषद, 108 उपनिषद, बृहदारण्यक उपनिषद, छंदोग्य उपनिषद, उन सब में जो philosophies दी हैं, which are basically the Vedas simplified, summarized, right? Vedas के end में उन्हें explain करने के लिए as to what it was trying to say and how to relate it in today's life or in everyday life, उस बारे में बात होती है. All right. So from earliest times, people tended to regard certain places as sacred. These included sites with special trees or unique rocks. All right. Or unique rocks or sites of awe-inspiring natural beauty. These sites with small shrines attached to them were sometimes described as chaityas. Chaitya may also have been derived from the word chita, meaning a funeral pyre and by extension a funerary mound. All right. तो चैत्य, पहले में ये समझना जरूरी है कि जितनी भी सेक्रेट जगहें होती थी, कोई ना कोई सीनिक नेचुरल ब्यूटी वाली जगह के आसपास ही होती थी. ऑल्सो जो चैत्य है, विच इज बेसिकली लाइक चिता या फिर कोई फ्यूनरल पायर, ऐसा भी कहा जाता था कि ये जो स्मॉल स्मॉल जगहें हैं, एज एक्सप्लेन्ड अर्लियर अबाउट बुद्धिस्ट स्तूपास, उन्हें चैत्य भी कहा जाता था. Buddhist literature mentions several chaityas. It also describes places associated with the Buddha's life, where he was born, Lumbini, where he attained enlightenment, Bodh Gaya, where he gave his first sermon in Sarnath, and where he attained Nirvana, Kushinagara. Nirvana as in he passed away, he died. Excuse me. Gradually each of these places came to be regarded as sacred. We know that about 200 years after the time of the Buddha, Ashoka erected a pillar at Lumbini to mark the fact that he had visited the place. Alright, famous Ashoka pillar in Lumbini because Ashoka had embraced Buddhism, and after which he helped in building a lot of stupas, religious places and sacred places of worship for Buddhism. तो ये भी चीजें अशोका ने करी थी. तो इस वजह से कुशीनगर में जो पिलर लगा हुआ है वो अशोका ने इसीलिए लगवाया है ताकि ये मैसेज जा पाए दैट द किंग वाज वंस देयर. कुशीनगर वही जगह है जहां पे गौतम बुद्धा की डेथ हुई थी. ऑलराइट, व्हाई वाज स्तूपास बिल्ट? स्तूपा क्यों बनाए जाते थे? देयर वर अदर प्लेसेस टू दैट वर रिगार्डेड एज सेक्रेड. This was because relics of the Buddha, such as his bodily remains or objects used by him, were buried there. These were mounds known as stupas. तो ऐसा नहीं है जरूरी कि ये जो इम्पोर्टेंट जगहें थी, सारनाथ, बोध गया, लुम्बिनी और कुशीनगर, इनके अलावा और भी जगहें हैं जो बुद्धिस्ट स्तूपास हैं. स्तूपा का मतलब होता है रेलिक या फिर कोई लेफ्ट आउट पीस by the Buddha, either his bodily remains, कोई शरीर का पार्ट, कोई जैसे nails, hair, etc. And apart from that, all the things that he used in his daily life. Okay. So the tradition of erecting stupas may have been pre-Buddhist, but they came to be associated with Buddhism. Since they contained relics regarded as sacred, the entire stupa came to be venerated as an emblem of both the Buddha and the philosophy of Buddhism as well. Basically, जो बुद्धा का उस टाइम पे स्तूपास बने थे, वहां पे रेलिक्स उनके रखे जाते थे, एंड ये एक बेसिकली साइन था ऑफ द प्रिंसिपल और द फिलोसफी ऑफ बुद्धिज्म एंड द बुद्धा हिमसेल्फ. According to a Buddhist text known as Ashok Vandana, Ashoka attributed portions of the Buddha's relics to every important town and ordered the constructions of stupas over them. By the 2nd century BC, a number of stupas, including those at Bharhut, Sanchi and Sarnath, had been built. Okay. So Ashoka, the king who had embraced Buddhism, उन्होंने बहुत ज़्यादा बुद्धिस्ट स्तूपास बनवाए, रेलिक्स को इकट्ठा किया डिफरेंट जगहों पे, इंपॉर्टेंट टाउन्स पे, जहाँ से सबसे ज़्यादा ट्रेड होता था, जहाँ पे सबसे ज़्यादा पॉपुलेशंस थी, विच वर प्रॉस्परस टाउन्स एंड डेवलप्ड टाउन्स, ताकि वहाँ से बुद्धिज्म का स्प्रेड ज़्यादा हो. इस वजह से उन्होंने बहुत सारे स्तूपास इरेक्ट करवाए, सो दैट जो वहाँ रेलिक्स रखे थे, जो नई जगहों पे रखवाए थे अशोका ने, उसके ऊपर स्तूपास बन पाए. All right, how were stupas built? But before that, why were stupas built? क्यों बनाए जाते थे स्तूपा? In an excerpt from the Mahaparinirvan Sutta of the Sutta Pitaka says, as the Buddha lay dying, Ananda asked him, "What are we to do, Lord, with the remains of the Tathagat?" Another name for Buddha, Tathagat. The Buddha replied, "Hinder not yourselves, Ananda, by honoring the remains of the Tathagat. Be zealous, be intent or own good." But when pressed further, the Buddha said, at 4 crossroads they should erect a thupa, Pali for stupa, to the Tathagat, and whosoever shall there place garlands or perfume, or make a salutation there, or become in its presence calm of heart, that shall long be to them for a profit and joy. So Buddha had ordered Ananda, as he was, he was almost about to die, and as Ananda asked him कि उनके remains का क्या करना है, so he said कि अलग अलग जगहों पे रखवा दें, and जहाँ पे भी उनके relics रखे जाएं उसके ऊपर एक स्तूपा या फिर place of worship build करी जाए. And according to the Buddha, उन जगहों पे जो भी इंसान सच्चे दिल के साथ जाएगा, परफ्यूम और मालाएं चढ़ाएगा, यानी कि इत्र चढ़ाएगा, एनीथिंग फ्रेग्रेंस वाला, तो उससे क्या होगा, उसे बहुत ज्यादा पीस मिलेगा और काफी तरक्की भी होगी. So, how were the stupas built? That's why we learned why. Now, how? Inscriptions found on the railings and pillars of the stupas record donations made for building and decorating them. Some donations were made by kings such as the Satvahanas, others by guilds such as that of the ivory workers who financed part of one of the gateways at Sanchi. Hundreds of donations were made by women and men who mentioned their names, sometimes adding the name of the place from where they came, as well as their occupations and names of their relatives. Bhikkhus and bhikkhunis also contributed towards building these monuments. So, कई बार राजा महाराजा होते थे, individuals होते थे, kings होते थे, rulers sometimes, otherwise organization, guilds या फिर कोई एक organization है craftsmen की, for example ivory workers, इन सब ने क्या कहते हैं स्तूपा बनवाने में हेल्प करी. For example Satavahanas, and one of the gateways was made with the help of the donations which were made by the ivory workers guild for Sanchi. All right. And donations काफी में आते थे, men women both used to donate for building stupas. All right. Now we go to the structure of the stupa. Stupa दिखता कैसा था? The stupa, a Sanskrit word meaning a heap, originated as a simple semicircular mound of earth, later called anda. Okay. सेमीसर्कुलर ये होता था, स्तूपा का मतलब होता है सेमीसर्कुलर, हीप, थोड़ा सा उठा हुआ. ये नॉर्मल जमीन है हमारी, वेयर ग्रास ग्रोज, थोड़ा सा ऐसा उठा हुआ स्ट्रक्चर, स्तूपा. ऑलराइट. ग्रेजुअली इट इवॉल्व्ड इनटू अ मोर complex structure balancing round and square shapes above the anda. Anda was the harmika, a balcony-like structure that represented the abode of the gods. Now stupa कुछ ऐसा दिखता था, semicircular, कभी कभी स्क्वायर्स एंड राउंड, बहुत सारे स्ट्रक्चर्स यूज करे जाते थे. बट ऑन टॉप ऑफ द स्तूपा होता था हर्मिका, एक बैल्कनी जैसी जगह. ऑलराइट, ये जो बैल्कनी जैसी जगह थी ये रिप्रेजेंट करता था कि यहाँ पे भगवान रहते हैं, और जो डिफरेंट गॉड्स हैं, डिफरेंट पावर्स, डिफरेंट एंटिटीज, डिफरेंट डेटीज, दे reside here. That's why. All right. So here you can see the structure of the stupa, how it exactly looked like. So as you can see, Harmika, stupa, और स्तूपा ऊपर से ऐसा दिखता था. Plan provides a horizontal perspective of the building. So also a votive inscription from Sanchi. Hundreds of similar inscriptions have also been found at Barhut and Amravati. ऐसे inscriptions Pali में, because the Buddha himself spoke Pali. That's why stupa has been written as stupa, according to Mahanirvan Pitaka, part of the Sutta Pitaka. Rising from the Harmika was a mast called the Yashti. एक flag type निकलता था, often summoned by a छतरी or an umbrella, और उसके ऊपर एक umbrella होती थी, छतरी होती थी. Around the mound was a railing separating the sacred space from the secular world. So around the moon, वो जो स्तूप है उसके आसपास रेलिंग होती थी, ताकि मोह माया और जो ये मटीरियलिस्टिक वर्ल्ड है उससे डिफरेंट दिखे. The early stupas at Sanchi and Barhut were plain except for the stone railings, which resembled a bamboo or a wooden fence, and gateways which were richly carved and installed at the 4 cardinal points. Worshippers entered through the eastern gateway and walked around the moon in a clockwise direction, keeping the moon on the right, imitating the sun's course through the sky. Later, the imitating of the stupas came to be elaborately carved with riches and sculptures, such as at Amravati and Shaki Dheri in Peshawar, present-day Pakistan. Okay. So, अब हम ये समझेंगे कि देखिए यहाँ पे स्तूपा है, ऑलराइट, एंड जो अर्ली स्तूपा है सांची और बरहूत के वो बहुत ज्यादा प्लेन है, बट एट द सेम टाइम जो स्टोन रेलिंग्स हैं वो रिप्रेजेंट करते थे एक बैम्बू या फिर एक वुडन फेंस, ऑलराइट, एंड द गेटवेज विच वर रिचली कार्व्ड, जो गेटवेज था बहुत रिचली कार्व्ड है, और वो ऐसा बनाया हुआ है. फॉर एग्जाम्पल एक स्तूपा में ऐसा होता है that it is always towards the east side, entering through the eastern gateway. जो ईस्ट की तरफ गेट है वहां से एंटर करते हैं, and as they enter after praying and their worship, उसके बाद clockwise direction में उसके आसपास घूमते हैं like a परिक्रमा, and that is done to symbolize the cycle of the sun. All right, sun rises towards the east and sets at the west, so that is why imitating those energies ये किया जाता था. और ये बहुत ज्यादा elaborately carved है, and in sculptures such as that in Amravati, Shaki Dheri, etc. All right, moving on. The eastern gateway at Sanchi. So ये carving वाला eastern gate है, यहाँ से enter करके you keep the stupa as mentioned before. स्तूपा को अपने right hand side में रख के उसके आसपास घूमते थे. That means in a clockwise direction. Moving on, discovering stupas, the fate of Amravati and Sanchi. तो सांची के बारे में हम काफी कुछ जान चुके हैं. सांची का जो स्तूपा है बहुत ज्यादा important, highly artistic, intrinsic designs are filled over there. सबसे important बात, each stupa has a history of its own. हर स्तूपा की अपनी एक कहानी है जो जिस रीजन से वो बनाया गया है. As we have just seen, some of these are histories of how they were built, but there are histories of discoveries as well. And let us now turn to some of these. In 1796, a local Raja who wanted to build a temple stumbled upon the ruins at the stupa at Amravati. He decided to use the stone and thought there might be some treasure buried in what seemed to be a hill. Some years later, a British official named Colin Mackenzie visited the site, although he found several pieces of sculpture and made detailed drawings of them. These reports were never published. So कई राजाओं ने बहुत कुछ बनाया, उनकी रिपोर्ट्स नहीं मिली. ये सब भी मोस्ट इम्पोर्टेंटली अगर आप ये देखेंगे, फॉर एग्जाम्पल ड्यूरिंग द टेक ओवर ऑफ अफगानिस्तान, especially by the Taliban, which happened in the late 20th century and early 21st century. स्टार्ट पहले हो चुका था. काफी सारे बुद्धिस्ट आर्किटेक्चर, मॉन्यूमेंट्स, स्तूपास इंक्लूडेड, some of them had been there, वो बहुत ज़्यादा destroy कर दिए थे. So a lot of that has been lost in history. In 1854, Walter Elliot, the commissioner of Guntur, Andhra Pradesh, visited Amravati and collected several sculpture panels and took them away to Madras. These came to be called the Elliot marbles after him. तो इस नाम से Elliot marbles हुए, जो कि गुंटूर के कमिश्नर थे. उन्होंने काफी सारे पैनल्स अमरावती से लिए और मद्रास ले गए, प्रेजेंट डे चेन्नई. He also discovered the remains of the western gateway and came to the conclusion that the structure at Amravati was one of the largest and most magnificent Buddhist sculptures or stupas ever built. सांची बहुत ज्यादा elaborate था, highly artistic designs थे, so on. By the 1850s, some of the slabs from Amravati had been taken to different places. The Asiatic Society of Bengal at Calcutta, to the India office in Madras, and some were even in London. It was not unusual to find these sculptures adorning the gardens of the British administrators. In fact, any new official in the area committed to have continued to remove sculptures from the site on the grounds that later officials had done the same. काफी सारे officers ने जो इतने सारे artistic चीजें थी, not only the effort which was put into making them, but apart from that, जो भी चीजें एक तरीके से हम ये कह सकते हैं, what happened was that apparently all these stupas and all these places had a lot of religious connotation to it. Highly spiritual places, places of worship, sacred places that they were. उनकी वैल्यू ना करके सिर्फ अपने घर में उनको सजा लिया, अपने म्यूजियम्स में ले गए और अपने पास रख ली. बहुत कॉमन चीज थी that used to keep happening. One of the few men who had a different point of view was the archaeologist named H.H. Cole. He wrote, "It seems to me a suicidal and indefensible policy to allow the country to be looted of the original works of the ancient art." He believed that the museums should have plaster card facsimiles of those sculptures, whereas the originals should remain where they had been found. All right. So, काफी सारे एक आर्कियोलॉजिस्ट थे जिन्होंने कहा, आर्कियोलॉजिस्ट मिस्टर कोल, कि ये सारे जो स्कल्पचर्स हैं ये अपनी ओरिजिनल जगहों पे ही बिलोंग करते हैं. अगर यूरोपियंस को इन्हें अपनी कंट्री में दिखाना है, शोकेस करना है फॉर द पीपल और पुट इट ऑन डिस्प्ले, दे शुड टेक प्लास्टर कास्ट्स मेड फ्रॉम डिफरेंट मटेरियल्स ऑफ दोज वेरी पर्टिकुलर स्कल्पचर्स. बेसिकली प्लास्टर से उसका एक कॉपी बनवा करके, एक प्लास्टर कास्ट बनवा के अपनी कंट्री ले जाएं. दैट वुड बी बेटर, because doing this would be like looting the country of the original and extremely impressive artistic works done during the ancient times. All right. Cole did not succeed in convincing the authorities about Amravati, although his plea for in situ preservation was adopted in the case of Sanchi. Situ preservation मतलब वहीं के वहीं, on the spot. Why did Sanchi survive while Amravati did not? ये क्वेश्चन है. सांची सर्वाइव कर गया, अमरावती नहीं कर पाया. Why so? Perhaps Amravati was discovered before scholars understood the value of the finds and realized how critical it was to preserve things where they had been found instead of removing them from the site. तो जहां पे जो चीजें मिली उनकी इंपॉर्टेंस को ना देख के उन्हें अपनी साइट से हटा देना, ये बहुत बड़ी प्रॉब्लम थी. When Sanchi was discovered in 1818, 3 of its 4 gateways were still standing. The 4th was lying on the spot where it had fallen on the moon, and the moon was in a good condition. Even so, it was suggested that the gateway to be taken was either to Paris or London. Finally, a number of factors helped to keep Sanchi as it was, and so it stands, whereas the Machaitya at Amravati is now just an insignificant little mound, totally denuded of its former glory. Denuded, all right. So बहुत सारे reasons थे जिसकी वजह से कुछ ancient sculptures, for example that of Sanchi, do survive at this point of time, and Amravati did not. Mostly it is linked to the British officials and other European powers which were there in India at that time. Sculpture. We have seen how sculptures were removed from stupas and transported all the way to Europe. This happened partly because those who saw them considered them to be beautiful and valuable and wanted to keep them for themselves. All right. उन्हें बहुत सुंदर लगे इसके अपने साथ ले गए. Common. Stories in stone. Okay. You may have seen wandering storytellers carrying scrolls or charana chitra of cloth or paper with pictures on them, and pointing to the pictures they tell the story. So in the figure on the next page, Charan Chitra. Example ye, have a look at this. इसके बारे में लिखा हुआ है, at first sight the sculpture seems to depict a rural scene with thatched huts and trees. However, art historians who have carefully studied the sculpture at Sanchi identify it as a scene from the Vesantra Jataka, the Jataka tales, basically explaining Buddhist philosophy like a story and through moral lessons, moral stories, all right, about morality. So, however, Sanchi this has been identified as a depiction of Sanchi from the Vesantra Jataka. This is a story about a generous prince who gave away everything to a Brahmin and went to live in a forest with his wife and children. सब कुछ त्याग करके एक ब्राह्मण को दान करके he went on to live his life in the forest. Over here, as we can see, historians often try to understand the meaning of sculpture by comparing it with textual evidence. Symbols of worship. Important. आखिर किस चीज की worship करते थे Buddhists? What was their philosophy regarding religion? We know that the Vedic practices, rituals, sacrifices, and the privileges which were given by birth, for example, जन्म से ही जो upper caste होते थे, lower caste होते थे, उसके against Buddhism बोलता था. But symbols of worship के बारे में बात हो रही है. Worship करते कैसे थे? Who did they worship inside the stupas and how did it go? Art historians had to acquire familiarity with the hagiographies of the Buddha in order to understand Buddhist sculpture. According to hagiographies, the Buddha attained enlightenment while meditating under a tree. Okay? And which was in Bodh Gaya. Bodh Gaya mein he attained enlightenment. Many early sculptures did not show the Buddha in human form. Instead, they showed his presence through symbols. काफी सारे जो अर्ली स्कल्पचर्स थे और जो स्कल्प्टर्स थे बेसिकली वो बुद्धा को एज अ सिंबल दिखाते थे, नॉट एज अ ह्यूमन फॉर्म. ऑल राइट. So in the previous figure 4.14 far right here, यहां पे हम देख सकते हैं कि काफी सारे स्कल्पटर्स ने बुद्धा को ह्यूमन फॉर्म में दिखाई नहीं, बट एक ट्री की तरह दिखाया है, because he attained enlightenment under a tree. That is why it is being considered sacred over here. And as we can see, you can also notice a few people sitting over here and worshipping the tree in a manner. So the empty seat, for example, in figure 4.14 was meant to indicate the meditation of the Buddha, and the stupa in figure 4.15, which is here. ये स्तूपा, ये भी एक सिंबल है, और इवन द चक्र, इस चक्र का मतलब है द सर्कल ऑफ लाइफ, आर कर्मास, द सफरिंग ऑफ बर्थ एंड रीबर्थ, माया, एंड हाउ टू अटेन निर्वाणा. ऑल राइट. So was meant to represent the this was the stupa was meant to represent the Mahaparinirvana. Another frequently used symbol was the wheel. This stood for the first sermon of the Buddha revealed in Sarnath. As is obvious, such sculptures cannot be understood literally. For instance, the tree does not stand simply for a tree, but symbolizes an event in the life of Buddha. जो ट्री है बेसिकली इस पूरे carving में, it does not technically define a tree as per se, but it has a very deep meaning to it. उसका एक बहुत deep meaning है जो स्कल्प्टर और आर्टिसंस बताना चाह रहे थे through Buddhist philosophies. So in order to understand such symbols, historians have to familiarize themselves with the traditions of those who produced these works of art. वो artist क्या सोच रहे थे इन सबको produce करते हुए? The woman at the gate. We'll also study about this. Other sculptures at Sanchi were perhaps not directly inspired by Buddhist ideas. Very interesting. And pretty important as well. At Sanchi, not directly inspired by Buddhist ideas. What does this mean? These include beautiful women swinging from the edge of the gateway, holding on to a tree, like in this figure. A lady standing, holding on to a tree. Initially, scholars were a bit intrigued about this image, which seemed to have little to do with Buddhist philosophy and renunciation. However, after examining many literary works and traditions, they realized that it could be a representation of what is described in Sanskrit as a Shalabhanjika. Shalabhanjika क्या होती है? Basically is a woman, एक ऐसी entity होती है जो कि पेड़ों को हाथ लगाए तो उसमें से फ्रूट्स गिरने लगते हैं. So it is likely that this was regarded as an auspicious symbol and integrated into the stupa for decoration. All right. The Shalabhanjika motif suggests that many people who turned to Buddhism enriched it with their own pre-Buddhist and even non-Buddhist beliefs, practices and ideas. For example, यहाँ पे कुछ ideas अब जैसे ये Shalabhanjika and all these things are not directly mentioned in Buddhism. एक नई philosophy or a different philosophy also states that this particular motif of a lady who's standing on the entrance of Sanchi स्तूपा के बाहर, तो वहां पे हमें ये भी समझना चाहिए कि मे बी दिस कुड सिंबलाइज माया, विच इज इल्यूजन, materialistic desires, our greed, lust, etc., and basically to remind followers and other humans in general कि भाई माया को त्याग दो और फिर माया वगैरह सबको छोड़ के वापस इधर आओ, enlightenment attain करो, all right, so that they can achieve nirvana. and get rid of this cycle of birth and rebirth. There are other images as well. All right. For instance, some of the finest depictions of animals are also found here. These animals include elephants, horses, monkeys, and cattle, while the Jatakas contain several animal stories, just like the Panchatantra that are depicted at Sanchi. It is likely that many of these animals were carved out to create lively scenes to draw viewers. Also, animals were often used as symbols of human attributes. Elephants, for example, were depicted to signify strength and wisdom. Okay, so ये जो elephants, animals, ये सब देखते हैं हम सांची में and different Buddhist architectural wonders में, we see that they symbolize more than they were shown just for decorational purposes or decorative purposes. All right, because they had a very deep meaning attached to it. जानवरों का कुछ मतलब था, as also mentioned in the Jataka tales. Elephant, tiger, lion, you name it, any animal, उनका कोई ना कोई एक symbol था, something that they symbolize, represent, or even a message that is trying to be conveyed through Buddhist philosophies. All right. Paintings from the past. Okay. While stone sculptures survives the ravages of time and is therefore most easily available to the historian, other visual means of communication, including paintings, were also used in the past. Those that have survived best on the walls of caves, of which those from Ajanta, Maharashtra, are the most famous ones. The paintings at Ajanta depict stories from the Jatakas. These include depictions of Kodi life, processions, men and women at work and festivals. The artists used the technique of shading to give a three-dimensional quality. Some of the paintings are extremely naturalistic. All right. For example, this one right here, the shading, the way in which it has been done makes the characters inside the painting look very three-dimensional, very realistic. All right. So, जो नए लोग बुद्धिज्म में आए थे, बुद्धिस्ट फोल्ड में आए थे, उनकी जो अपनी अपनी प्रैक्टिसेस थी, उन्होंने उसको नहीं छोड़ा. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, जैसे इस्लाम इमर्ज हुआ था, a lot of new people started to convert to Islam. Salafi, Hanafi, Sufi, different schools of thought according to their own version or their own way of interpreting the Quran, and that's how different thoughts were born. क्योंकि जो local customs और beliefs थे वो उन्हें भी नहीं छोड़ रहे थे. Sufism being the best example. All right, another motive is that of a woman surrounded by lotuses and elephants, which seem to be sprinkling water on her as if performing an abhishek, or holy bath, or consecration. While many historians identify the figure as Maya, the mother of the Buddha, others identify her with a popular goddess, Gajalakshmi, literally the goddess of good fortune, and the version of Lakshmi जो कि सप्त मातृकाओं में वैष्णवी की एक अर्धांगिनी है, the wife of Lord Vishnu. लक्ष्मी के जो अष्ट लक्ष्मी स्वरूप हैं, 8 forms of लक्ष्मी, उनमें से एक गज लक्ष्मी भी हैं, धन लक्ष्मी भी हैं, ज्ञान लक्ष्मी भी हैं, etc. So, who is associated with the elephants? It is also possible that devotees who saw these sculptures identify the figure with both Maya and Gajalakshmi. Consider too the serpent which is found लास्ट पेज पे एक सर्पेंट का भी डायग्राम था, एक स्नेक का, which is found on several pillars. These motifs seem to be derived from popular traditions which were not always recorded in texts. Interestingly, one of the most earliest modern art historians, James Ferguson, considered Sanchi to be a center of the tree and the serpent worship. He was not familiar with Buddhist literature, most of which had not been translated, and arrived at this conclusion by studying only the images on their own. Alright, तो काफी सारे misconceptions as to what the serpent signifies, उसका meaning क्या है, उसको directly हिंदू और even Vedic philosophy से उसको compare करना, and obviously ending up in an analogy between the two would be really unfair because of the differences of each of these philosophies separately. So, the development of Mahayana Buddhism. As we see here, different forms of Buddhism had also emerged. अलग-अलग forms आ चुके थे. By the 1st century Common Era, there is evidence of changes in Buddhist ideas and practices. When? 1st century Common Era. Early Buddhist teachings had given great importance to self-effort in achieving nirvana. Besides, the Buddha was regarded as a human being who attained enlightenment and nirvana through his own efforts. However, gradually the idea of a savior emerged. It was believed that he was the one who could ensure salvation. Basically, पहले का जो Mahayana Buddhism is the outer wheel, Hinayana is the inner or the core form of Buddhism. So Hinayana Buddhism के बारे में हम बाद में बात करेंगे. Mahayana ये बोलता था that before the development of Hinayana Buddhism used to talk about self-introspection, realization, meditation, and Buddha को as a respected figure देखा जाता है, not like a god, more like a very respected and a divine being. And they rarely worshipped Buddha but drew inspiration from his teachings and worked on themselves. अपने आप पे काम करते थे, अपने आप को देखते थे, self introspect करते थे, और वो ये मानते थे that the path to nirvana वो आप अकेले ही चल के जाओगे अपने कर्मों को ठीक करके, करुणा से, and dhamma etc. However, gradually the idea of a savior emerged कि भाई हमारे निर्वाणा की तरफ यही लेके जा सकते हैं, हमारे दुख और माया को यही दूर कर सकते हैं, एंड वर्शिपिंग बुद्धा एज अ गॉड. सो वो आइडिया बढ़ने लगा. साइमल्टेनियसली द कॉन्सेप्ट ऑफ बोधिसत्ता ऑल्सो डेवलप्ड. बोधिसत्तास वर परसीव्ड एज डीपली कंपैशनेट, beings who accumulated merit through their own efforts, but used this not to attain nirvana and thereby abandon the world, but to help others. बोधिसत्ता जो दूसरों की हेल्प करें, जो बुद्धिस्ट टीचिंग जिसे अच्छे से आती हो और खुद निर्वाणा ना अटेन करके वो दूसरों की हेल्प करते हैं, दूसरों को गाइड करते हैं to do the same. The worship of images of the Buddha and Bodhisattvas became an important part of this tradition. अब उनकी पूजा होनी स्टार्ट हो गई थी और ये बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट पार्ट था इस ट्रेडिशन का. This new way of thinking was called Mahayana Buddhism. इसे कहा जाता था Mahayana Buddhism, Bodhisattvas and worshipping the Buddha or the great vehicle. Those who adopted these beliefs described the older tradition as Hinayana or the lesser vehicle. Alright, पहले Hinayana फिर Mahayana आया था. So Hinayana or Theravada, supporters of Mahayana regarded other Buddhists as followers of Hinayana. However, followers of the older tradition described themselves as Theravadins, that is, those who followed the path of the old, respect the teachers, the Theras. So जो महायाना बुद्धिज्म वाले थे, they used to consider the followers belonging to the Hinayana sect or the older version, उनको वो हिनायाना के नाम से बुलाते थे. But the Hinayana followers used to address themselves as Theras or Theravadins, जो पुरानी टीचिंग्स को और ओल्ड कॉन्सेप्ट्स को चेरिश और प्रिजर्व करके रखते हैं और उन्हें ही फॉलो करते हैं. All right. So this was the second part of your fourth chapter of Themes in Indian History, class 12th NCERT. चैप्टर का नाम था Thinkers, Beliefs and Buildings. So in the next part, we'll be completing the chapter. Till then, you can rewind the video and try to basically listen carefully and also understand what was being explained in the chapter. Thank you, Team Educate.